So welcome everyone. This is the Recycling 101 session for schools. We are doing this to celebrate National Recycling Week, which is coming in 2 weeks. Okay, so who are we? My name is Ali. I work at Planet Ark, and Planet Ark is an environmental organization. We run the campaign for National Recycling Week, as you probably may know already, and we also run the School Recycle Right Challenge.
My name is Fatima. I'm the Education Coordinator at Bingo Industries. Bingo Industries is one of Australia's leading recycling and waste management companies with operations across the east coast of Australia. We're pushing for a waste-free Australia with a focus on diverting valuable waste materials away from landfill. We'd like to start our presentation with an acknowledgement of country. In the spirit of reconciliation, Bingo and Planet Ark acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and acknowledge and respect their connections to land, sea and community. We acknowledge the Kulin Nation, Eora Nation, Darug Nation, Dharawal Nation and our Wakabul people whose ancestral lands and water we operate on. We pay respects to elders both past and present and stand together with First Nation leaders of today and tomorrow. We're going to start off our webinar by looking at the waste hierarchy. When thinking about waste management, considering the waste hierarchy is a great way to identify which efforts may have a better outcome. This means the first thing we should focus on is avoiding or creating waste when possible. Then we're looking at reducing, reusing and recycling. If we look at the hierarchy, you can see the best thing at the top is the refuse, reduce. Another great thing to do is to reuse materials as much as we can. And then recycling is midway. It's a great way to avoid sending things to landfill. Same with food organics like compost. We use waste to energy. And then of course, the worst thing is for materials to end up in landfill. So we want to try our best to avoid that.
So talking about reducing and reusing, these are some options, non-recyclable or very hard to recycle items that we can easily swap for reusable ones, so we don't have to create the waste in the first place. So in the first instance, we have coffee cups. Coffee cups are really tricky to recycle. Some councils accept them, some of them don't, most don't. Yeah, they're just a little bit tricky to process. So the best thing that we can do is to use a reusable coffee cup or reusable mug so that we don't have to create that waste in the first place. The second one is cutlery and chopsticks. So any type of single-use or disposable cutlery and chopsticks, they're not recyclable. Most of the reason is because they have a very weird shape, and sometimes the plastic and the materials that they're made of, they're not high enough quality to actually being able to process it. So it's best not to use them because they have to end up, they will end up in landfill anyway. So it's better just to use reusable cutlery. You don't have to get any fancy sets. Whatever you have at home, that's more than enough. The third one is napkins. Even though napkins are made out of paper, they're not recyclable. The main reason is because the way we use napkins, we use them to either wipe our face or to wipe, around maybe some mess that we have made. And that means that they get contaminated with food waste. So when we do that, then that paper is not recyclable anymore. In some states, you can compost them. Just check with your local council guidelines to see if you can compost your napkins or not. If you cannot compost them, unfortunately, they have to go into the rubbish bin. So it's better just to replace them with reusable cloth napkins that we can simply wash and reuse over and over again. The fourth item are plastic bags. So plastic bags, they cannot go in your recycling bin, but they can be taken back to supermarkets like Coles and Woolworths. That's the only way that we can recycle plastic bags. So it's a little bit tricky, better not to create them in the first place and to use them. So the best thing that we can do is just to use a reusable bag. Fifth option is cling wrap. Again, cling wrap, some brands, they can be recycled through the recycle bins at Coles and Woolworths. So check the recycle website to see which brands those are. Having said that, they need to be clean, dry, and because of the way we use cling wrap, sometimes that is not really possible, so it ends up in a landfill anyway. So it's better just to use items like a reusable beeswax wrap or reusable silicone bag so that we don't have to create that waste in the first place. And lastly, receipts. So receipts are, they're technically recyclable. They could get recycled, but the problem with receipts is that most of them, they have a chemical, BPAs, PFAS, and those chemicals, they stay in the paper for almost forever. So if we put them in the recycling bin and then it gets recycled to, into new paper items, those chemicals are going to travel to the new item. So it's better not to use those in the first place to avoid that, that contamination.
All right, we're going to look at recycling at home. The recycling bin at home is mainly for packaging from the kitchen, bathroom, and laundry, plus paper and cardboard from your home office. Items like toys, styrofoam, clothing, glassware, hangers, or home decor should never go in their yellow bin or in your recycling bin. They will eventually be discarded to landfill, and if there's too much of them, they can contaminate the whole batch in the yellow bin. So looking at recyclable at home, things like packaging and paper and cardboard can go into your recycling or yellow bin at home. So we have the glass bottles as well. However, non-recyclables at home that are commonly misplaced into the yellow bin can be clothing, coat hangers, styrofoam, toys, and plastic bags. Okay, please look up your general rules. There are some councils that will accept items like glassware and soft plastics, but that's again specific to where you live. We're going to have a little break now. So we want you to think about looking at these pictures for a minute or so, and please place these ideas in the comments. What can you see in the yellow bin, the recycling bin, that shouldn't be there? If you can have a close look at what's in the yellow bin after reviewing it, please write them down in the comments section and we will accept some responses. So yes, food scraps. Awesome. Thanks, Irfan College. Your banana peel shouldn't be in there. Awesome. Thanks, John. Yes, the banana peels. So how about the bin at the back? What can you see that's in the recycling bin that shouldn't be there? Plastic mugs, yeah. Toys, a bag, soft plastics. Well done. A boba cup, yes. And the straw, yes. Awesome. Keep the responses going. Keep looking carefully. Straw no more. Yes, Lizzie. Excellent. A pizza box. Interesting one. Cans. Yeah. Compostables. Yes. Thank you so much for your responses. The lids are coming up a lot. Almost time up. Plastic cups. On the next slide, you will see that the 6 common recycling mistakes that we often get. The first one is soft plastics. Soft plastics need a different recycling process. If it goes to the standard plastic recyclers, it can actually jam the machine because it behaves very differently to a hard or rigid plastic like milk bottles, for example. So a good rule of thumb is if anything you can scrunch should not go into your yellow bin. The second one is bagged recyclables. This means there's no way for the workings or the workers who sort the recyclables to know what's inside the bag. So yes, there are manual processes at some recycling facilities, but if they're bagged, some bagged recyclables are also not sorted into the correct category. So if we put all our items in a bag, it can't be sorted into the correct field like metals, plastics, paper, or cardboard, and that would not help us at all. The third one is food or organics. We find these sometimes in recycling bins. This is actually considered a contaminant or a contamination to all the waste products in the yellow bin. So please don't put these into your yellow bin. The fourth one is non-recyclable plastics. Any plastics with additional materials should not be put into your recycle bin, such as toys or coat hangers or goggles and things that have different types of plastics or could be coated in a different chemical as well. Number 5 is expanded polystyrene. Expanded polystyrene cannot be recycled through our current infrastructure. It's a major problem for our environment because if it's not disposed of correctly, it can end up in our waterways, because when it breaks down, it ends up into these little particles and they escape through the waste management process. Number 6 is clothing. Clothing should never be put into the yellow bin. It should be taken to a recycling or upcycle place where they have clothing bins as well.
Okay, so now that you know what you're not meant to be putting in your recycling bin, how do you know when you want to recycle your packaging, if you can recycle it or not, especially with plastics? So we have this question here, and teachers, please discuss this with the students. When you see the numbers inside those triangles, does it mean that it can be recycled? Yes or no? I'll give you a minute to discuss, and then we can continue. Okay, we have some questions, some answers coming in. Yes and no. What do you think? What would it be? Some of the numbers can be recycled, some of them cannot. Yeah, a lot of yes answers in here. How many times it can be recycled? Oops, time. Okay, so what is the answer? Does this mean it can be recycled, yes or no? Actually, no. The numbers inside those triangles, they don't mean that you can recycle your packaging. It only refers to the type of plastic that that has been used to create that piece of packaging. There's so many other things that can affect the recyclability of your items, such as the shape, if it's round, if it's in a circle or something, the size, if it's too big or too small, the weight, if it's too heavy or too light, any inks that have been used, to maybe print something on it, the glues that have been used to glue different pieces of packaging together, as well as colorants. There's some colorants that make plastic, doesn't matter what type of plastic, they make it not recyclable because they cannot be detected by the machines. So it's really hard for us as individuals to know if a piece of, like all these different things about a piece of packaging. But fortunately in Australia, we have the Australasian recycling label. And this label takes into account all of these different things. So the way it works is if you see the label with the black or the opaque recycling symbol, and it has on top the component name for whatever the piece of packaging that you're trying to recycle, it means that you can recycle it as it is. You can just put in your recycle bin and it's good to go. Then we have the conditionally recyclable label, and that is the one with the clear recycling symbol, and it has an instruction underneath. So this means that you can recycle that piece of packaging only if you follow the instructions under that symbol. If you don't, then it has to go in the rubbish bin. But a good example in this case would be for soft plastics. The soft plastics that you can take back to Coles and Woolworths, we have an instruction that says store drop-off or return to store, so that you know that you can take those back. With your the bin symbol, unfortunately, that means that that piece of packaging is not recyclable and that has to go into your rubbish bin. Because if we put them in our recycling bin, as Fatima mentioned, it will only be contaminating that stream and it's not going to get recycled anyway. So it's very important, make sure that you check for this label the next time you're at the bin or even at the shops to see how many products you can find with it. And so we have another quick activity. Here we have a piece of packaging. So this is a plastic top with the lid, and then we have like a foil lid that you can that comes with it. Once you're done with it, how would you recycle this at home? I'll give you another minute to discuss.
Feel free to add how you would recycle this in the comments box. We would love to see
Mhm.
your ideas.
Okay, we have a couple of answers coming in. Thank you, Lizzie. Plastic container could go in the recycling. Scrunch foil unless it is a big ball. Answer from John. Foil in the general waste. Oh, I'm already, okay. Okay, excellent. Well, thank you very much for all of your answers. Here, I'm going to show you now the label that you will find on that piece of packaging. So in this case, you can see the top is recyclable. So the top can go in your recycle bin as is. The lid, you can recycle it if you leave it attached. And the reason is because the lid might be too light. And once it goes into the sorting facilities, the machines may think that it's paper because it's so light and it's so flat. But once you reattach it to the top, then it will be part of that three-dimensional or that bigger container. So it will get sorted correctly. And finally, the foil, yeah, just make sure that you don't have any tzatziki or any deep leftovers in there. A great way to remove that is just by licking it. And yeah, you can scrunch it into a ball, as you can see here. A good rule of thumb, just try to make it bigger than a golf-sized ball so it can get captured properly. So yes, as you can see, it's very easy to know how to recycle your packaging when you have the Australasian recycling label on it. So make sure that you look at it because it's appearing on more and more products every day. And now we're just going to show you a quick video of, because once you put everything in your recycling bin, how that is going to get sorted.
Sorting your recycling, brought to you by Planet Ark. After recycling is collected from your curbside, it's taken to a materials recovery facility and loaded onto conveyor belts where contaminants and non-recyclables like clothing and plastic bags are removed by hand. The recyclables pass through sorting machines designed to separate out the different material types. Large fans are used to blow paper into a collection area. The plastic, steel, glass and aluminium containers continue along another conveyor belt where magnets are used to remove steel cans and aerosols. The remaining items then pass through a series of plastic sorting machines. Optical scanners use light to identify the different types of plastic, and then jets of air separate them. A magnetic field is used to generate an electric current called an eddy current in the aluminium, which causes it to be pushed away and separated from other materials. At the end of the separation process, glass is loaded into trucks, while the other materials are made into bales for transportation to reprocessing facilities. All the materials are made or recycled into new products. Not all councils collect the same recyclable items, so check recyclingnearyou.com.au to find out what you can recycle locally, or contact your local council. So,
Okay, so once everything gets sorted, what happens? What can they be turned into? So plastic bottles can be turned into more plastic bottles. That's an easy one. Steel cans, the steel is melted and then that can be used to create pieces for fridges as well as more cans. Aluminum cans, the same, they can be melted back again and they can be used to create things for airplanes or cars, as well as, of course, more cans. Newspaper, that's generally used to create kitty litters. So if you have a cat at home, and I assume you would buy a kitty litter for them, when you go to the shops, try to see if the brand that you use uses recycled paper, and if not, maybe try to find one that does. And finally, cardboard boxes are just turned into more cardboard boxes.
Okay, just because you cannot recycle something through your home or recycling bin at home, there are many items that can be recycled if you take them to drop-off points. So these alternative drop-off locations can be found at recyclingeu.com.au. There is also one very common one we see around New South Wales. It's the return and earn. So if you're interested in earning extra pocket money for the school holidays or fundraising at your school, you can collect plastic bottles and earn some extra money for those events. You can also upcycle, especially with damaged clothing. Is something we try to avoid ending up in landfill, but you can also turn them into some new items. Also, you can always hire skip in specific to your renovation or home construction, or if you just need some extra waste space as well. Now, these are common household e-waste and other items that end up filling up our yellow bins. However, there are alternate drop-off locations for these. The first one are household items that are very common. So you may be upgrading your mattress and the old mattress needs to be taken away. So a lot of companies now will come and collect the old one and recycle it or deal with that waste for you. I know coffee capsules are very popular at schools or at home. And if you look up their company name, they will have recycling ways to collect and recycle those capsules as well. Chemicals and paint, I know they cost money to get rid of, but you can look up on recyclingeu.com.au to find out how to safely get rid of those. Clothing and linen can be dropped off at clothing bins. They can also sometimes be donated if they're in good condition. Anything that's in poor condition, please do not donate it. Maybe take it, put it in the general waste bin as well. And you can order specific bins for your construction and demolition bins, like ones from Bingo, and that would help sort different materials and hopefully get more things recycled and repurposed. Other things that we see lots of because of lots of working from home is that we see a lot of cartridges from printers. Planet Ark has cartridges for Planet Ark waste system, which you can find more information about at recyclingeu.com.au. Mobiles and batteries, there's also a B-cycle recycling program. Also, there are different drop-off locations such as Officeworks or JB Hi-Fi for cartridges and mobiles. Batteries can also, I know Aldi has a battery drop-off center location as well, and same with light globes, computers and accessories. Other things like stationery, they can be brought back to, I think, Officeworks as well, for them to recycle or repurpose them in the future. With breg tags, they can't be recycled. They're really small and they'll get lost in the system, and they may be really tricky to find. Personal care and beauty care and blister packs all fall under categories such as toothbrushes and floss. And if you look at their packaging, you can find the label and figure out where to return them to or where the best place to take them to is as well.
Okay, so with all of these items that we cannot recycle at home, but we can take them somewhere, what happens with them? So with phones and computers, they can be turned again into more phones, especially now that we have a new version almost pretty much every year now. So there's, that can be used to create the new ones. Mobile phones and computers, they also have a lot of precious and valuable metals, so they can be used again to create things like jewelry and rings. So yeah, please make sure that you recycle your e-waste. With textiles or fabrics, they can be turned into insulation. So remember to recycle the ones that you cannot donate because it's better to use them first. So anything with holes and things like that, that can be used to create insulation for homes and sometimes cars as well. With the printer cartridges, those get broken down and the toner gets, and the plastic as well, that gets used to create a road base. And with the ink, they create artist ink so that new artists can paint very nice art pieces. And finally, paint. I mean, that is not recycled into new paint, but that is burned and then it's turned into energy. So it's very important to, when you can, to recycle your paint. Again, check recyclingedu.com.au. There's some programs and some, not every place, but some places they would take those small quantities for free, as long as you don't, give them massive quantities, they would be fine. And then that can create new energy.
We're going to look specifically at some different materials and what happens to them afterwards, or what they're down. And then we're going to look at some things that end up in landfill as well. The first thing is plastic, or hard plastic can be turned into new plastic. Then we have glass, which can be turned into new glass. We have glad wrap, and we've learned that's a soft plastic that will end up in landfill. Timber, when it's collected and when it enters our facilities, will be sorted and turned into mulch or new timber. Then we have rubber. Rubber can be turned into new rubber. We have bricks, tiles, and concrete is turned into aggregate and road base and used in future builds or construction. And we have styrofoam that ends up in landfill. So we'll show you a little video coming up of how some materials are reused or repurposed in new builds, for when you build a new home or when you're demolishing a home.
Okay, so yeah, that was a great video explain of how those items that you cannot recycle in your home recycling bin, but if you use a skip bin, for like one from Bingo, for example, it can get turned into so many different things, which is really, really cool. So yeah, once again, remember that waste isn't waste until it's wasted. Try to rethink the way you think about all of those resources, because really there's not that many. So we have to make sure that we really take care of them. And please do get involved with the School Recycle Right Challenge. For the teachers, I will be sharing a link after this so that you can see all of the resources available for you. Again, remember, National Recycling Week is in 2 weeks, which is very exciting. So yeah, hopefully you found this useful.
And please visit our education hub for more resources at bingoindustries.com.au, the great resources to use during National Recycling Week. And there's lots of great readings up on there as well. We hope you enjoyed our session, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, this session has been recorded, so if you want to watch this again, you will be able to. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send those across and we can answer them. Thank you very much.
Thank you.